And the first step that I have to give you is to actually just tell your spouse that this is important to you. I can speak as a person who, as a financial advisor, has typically taken on the role of managing the finances in our home, although the title of like who earns the most in our household is actually something that's been like a ping pong ball going across the table between my wife and I throughout the course of our marriage. But whether I'm the higher earner or not at that given time, just because of the industry that I'm in, it's been the role that I've taken. And we've had many an argument. This is not something I've shied away from about who knows more. My wife feeling like she doesn't have enough information, not feeling secure because she doesn't have that information. And many of those conversations have devolved, not just because of the fact that it was brought up by her, but in all sincerity, some of my ego saying, this isn't something that you cared to talk about before. Now you want to talk about it now. Are you implying that I'm somehow mismanaging the finances or that I'm doing a poor job? And that's something that I've had to own is an insecurity of mine or something that angers me. But also, when you're having this conversation with your spouse, you need to acknowledge that that may be there, right? There is an element of soothing your spouse's ego, or at least making sure that they're aware that this is about you getting more information and feeling more empowered. It is not some type of indication or accusation that they've done financial harm. Although sometimes your spouse has mismanaged things and done financial harm, and you may be in this situation because you don't want to be in the backseat anymore when you feel like there are things that are being done that are causing damage. So, as best as you can, on both sides, have a non accusatory conversation about the importance of getting on the same page financially. The next step is to plan for the conversation where you're going to talk about the finances and try to give some forethought to an environment that is conducive to both of you being on the same page, or an environment that's not so positive and might lead to an argument, right? Like maybe you're in the perfect marriage, but I'm trying to acknowledge the fact that if you're like most couples, you can have your spats, and you do have some environments that are better for certain conversations than others. So for you all, that might mean after we've had a date night, enjoyed each other's company, had a glass of wine, let's sit down and have this conversation. For another couple, it might be like, hey, let's talk about it while we're on a hike and doing something outdoors together. For others, it may be very specific pieces of information in terms of how you're going to approach the conversation. But whatever your environment is, plan out that environment, schedule the date, and in that session, you're going to talk about the details of everything. You're going to talk about, for investments, where is this investment held in terms of the custodian? That could be a company like a Charles Schwab, a JP Morgan Chase, a UBS. Literally, who holds the investment itself? You want to ask questions about the structure of the investments. Is this an individual transfer on death account? Are there beneficiaries listed to this account? Is it a joint tenants with rights of survivorship account? These are all things that we're going to talk about later in this episode, but have an understanding of the structure of your investments. We'll talk shortly about the importance of understanding the beneficiaries, but in terms of the high level details, get an idea of where the asset is held, the account balance, and the ownership structure. For insurance policies, there's a lot that you need to know. And it definitely is the case when it comes to people insurances like life insurance, health insurance, disability insurance. And while you want to make sure that you have your own insurances, right? One of the things that can anger a stay-at-home spouse is the implication that they don't add financial value to the house. You're well aware that if something were to happen to you, there is a monetary replacement that would have to be made to compensate for the fact that you're not just sitting on your ass all day. There's stuff that you're doing, or by your doing it, allowing your spouse to do certain things that earn an income that has a monetary value.